Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Today is going to be a good one. How often have you wondered how much you should charge for drop-off laundry? Today, we are going to tell you exactly how we calculated our costs per pound of drop-off laundry and how much we needed to charge to make a profit. And we are going to teach that to you as well. This is an episode you will not want to miss.
There's nothing better than free. Ever heard that before? Well, it's not true. You know what your laundromat customers like even better than free? It's fast. That's right, they want to save time more than they want to save money in most cases. They want to get in and out of your laundromat as fast as possible, and they'll pay more for that experience. We're proof of that here in Cincinnati. That's why we added HM Company drain troughs into our newest store in Cincinnati. While they may never know why, your customers will love that your washers all drain better and faster than with old school drain pipes. As if that wasn't enough, every HM drain trough is made in the USA, so they ship in only a few weeks and everyone is custom made just for you and your project. If you want to provide your customers with a top of the industry experience in your store, then contact your distributor to order your HM Company drain trough today or visit draintroughs.com. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, here's the deal. I just want to let you all know, first of all, that this episode is probably going to be a little challenging for me, probably going to be a little challenging for Carla for a couple reasons, but we have good intentions, so hang in there with us if it gets a little hairy at times. We do know what we're talking about, we promise, but trying to teach it to you and trying to teach it to you over a podcast might be a little bit challenging. If you're listening to this on the audio version, you may want to consider flipping over to the video version because we'll have a little, some B-roll and some graphics and things like that that might make things a little bit clearer.
To help you with the formulas.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're going to kind of get in the weeds a little bit here.
Lots of numbers.
Yeah. So as we told you, the goal behind this is for, the 14 years we've been in the industry, I've seen and heard over and over and over again how laundromat owners should do wash, dry, fold. A lot of laundromat owners who do wash, dry, fold don't know how to actually calculate their costs. They don't actually know what processing a pound of laundry costs them, and therefore they don't know if they're actually making money. They don't know if their pricing is correct and in line. They don't know what their margins are. And honestly, full disclosure, we were there for a long time. We just did this about 5 years ago, I guess, when we really had to get tight on our numbers. And so now that we've kind of locked this down, we figured out what our numbers are through our pickup and delivery workshop. We get into the weeds quite a bit on the numbers and how to calculate them and how to determine your price and things like that. The fact of the matter is, we want to try to share this with you, how we've come to these conclusions, that we're going to share our real numbers with you of our real costs. And then we're going to try to give you some formulas, so to speak, that will allow you to kind of predetermine what your cost, what your pricing should be, and obviously lock down for sure what your expenses are. So that's the idea. This might be challenging for a podcast, but we're going to give it a crack because we've never heard of anything like this out there from anyone. And so we're going to give it a try. Hopefully you can hang in there with us. This might be one of those episodes you need to watch a few times as well, but hopefully it brings you some value. So
a few things to talk about, though, is with this podcast, we are focusing on only wash, dry, fold pricing. So we do our workshop that we do for pickup and delivery does get into how to calculate your costs and what you need to charge for pickup and delivery. There are a lot of other costs that go into that because you have, obviously transportation, delivery costs and all that kind of stuff. So before you jump ahead, this is just for wash, dry, fold, a few ground rules, just for wash, dry, fold in a self-serve laundromat. So if you are doing wash, dry, fold out of your house or out of a warehouse of just, that's not open to the public for self-serve. This is not quite the same. So one thing that we want to mention is in our price, we do not include things like rent and expense on the buildings and stuff like that, because all of that is factored into our self-serve laundromat.
Yeah. And so what we're going to try to do as we go through this is, well, not what we're going to try to do. What we're going to do is explain to you how the real world looks to us. And then we'll try to point out some caveats along the way that might apply to you, like maybe you need to factor in rent. We don't. We want you to know why we don't factor in rent. And it's because we ran self-serve laundromats that were fully attended before we started drop-off laundry. And so like our rent and even our attendance labor was all calculated in the cost of the self-serve business model. And we were still profitable within the context of that model. So when we added wash, dry, fold, or drop-off laundry to that, we were able to account for these in a little bit different ways. But Carla's exactly right. If you're getting into pickup and delivery, which we're not going to talk about today, or you're processing drop-off laundry out of a facility that isn't a self-serve laundromat, you're going to have different numbers. But hopefully we can get you, even though you're running a slightly different business, hopefully we can give you enough of the context where you can say, okay, if I'm doing X amount of pounds of laundry and I'm out of a facility that charges me, $1,000 a month for rent, we can show you how to just kind of reverse engineer that and plug it into, even though that doesn't apply to us. But we also don't want you to think we're overlooking things. There's really only one number in all of our calculations that we had to guess at, and we guessed pretty high, and that was just machine maintenance and repairs. And the only reason that we did that is because there's no way to quantify how much of maintenance and repairs of your machines is attributable to your drop-off laundry and how much is attributable to pickup and delivery and how much so we're guessing.
No
here.
easy way.
Yes. Yeah, we weren't going to go that crazy with it, but we did get pretty in the weeds. So let's see what we can do, see if we can help some people out, Carla.
And another caveat we want to mention is if you are someone who is doing the drop-off order yourself, you as the owner is doing that drop-off order, make sure you count fair market wages for that labor. Yep. Yes, you are kind of free labor, but make sure that you calculate that into your cost. Yep. That's an important thing that sometimes people miss.
That's a great point. And one thing you'll notice as we get further along is we want to give you real numbers of what our numbers are, and then we want to give you real numbers. And what I mean by that is the real numbers as it would apply to any pound of laundry. And then we want to, for example, if you're providing free labor, okay, what I always tell people is, but you can only work, let's say 80 hours a week. Okay, we want to create a business model, we want to create an expense category, and we want to create a pricing category that applies to an infinite amount of laundry, right? And so that's what we're trying to do here. And if you're providing free labor of your own, free will, that's fine. But you should actually, when you're calculating your expenses, figure in what would you, if you paid someone to do that laundry, what's fair market value? What would you pay them? And that way your pricing structure is correct, even if you someday back out of the business and plug in Susie, who does laundry at $20 an hour or whatever it is. So that's part of what's going to make this a little complicated, but we think we can do it. Luckily, Carla's a really good teacher.
We'll see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We do offer bonuses for our employees and for our extensive management team. So we are going to be factoring those in. Obviously, yours might be different. If you don't give bonuses, you give a different amount of bonus. If you don't have a management team, all those types of things. So that's why we're really going to get into the weeds on this one and really go level by level of how we calculated our costs. So if there's any minor part that's a little different for you, you can add to our formula or you can take things out of our formula. So that's important to note. Yep. And then I guess, Dave, go ahead and jump into how we got our averages.
Yeah. So
because orders are different. They're not all the same.
They are.
That's the hard part.
They are. The truth is the only way to really know your costs is to do an order of laundry and reverse engineer it. That's the only way to really know. Otherwise, you're speculating. It's hypothetical. And so what we did is we did a dozen orders, and they averaged, all of them were between 20 and 80 pounds for drop-off laundry orders. They were all done when the store was open to the public, meaning that our store attendants were doing the orders. They were doing them within the confines of our training. Our training is that customer service always comes first. Cleaning the store always comes second, and drop-off laundry is your third priority. Now, there is a little bit of an art to that, too, because we all know if you put a drop-off laundry order in a machine, you don't have to stand there and watch it wash the clothes. you can put a drop-off order in the machine and then go clean the bathroom and then check the machine. And if it's got 10 minutes left, help this customer with change and then come back. So you can fill in the gaps and make them more efficient. But the idea behind this was we wanted to do, we didn't want to do 100 orders, but we wanted to do more than just 1 or 2. And then what we did is took a law of average. So we did 12 orders, and we recommend you do something similar, by the way. We did 12 orders between 20 and 80 pounds on different days of the week. We did some on Sundays. We did some on Wednesday afternoons. With our staff in the store, we did not use our managers, who are kind of, faster than our attendants usually. We use store attendants, and we tracked everything. So what we did is we said we have a branding sticker that has our logo on it that we put on every bag of laundry when it's finished, and those are roughly 6 cents. And so we said every bag of laundry, whether it's a 40-pound bag or a 20-pound bag, gets a 6-cent sticker. Well, if you use the same 6-cent sticker on a 40-pound bag of laundry as you do on a 20, then obviously the cost per pound for that sticker goes down, right? And so these are the types of things we were trying to do. Using a 40-gallon bag, a 40-gallon Rhino bag, is a more expensive bag to purchase, but it holds more laundry. So what is the cost of that bag as a percentage of the order? And so that's how we kind of reverse engineered this, and you can do this too. It does take some time. It does take some patience. You can use real orders. So just pick out, I think for us, this was over the course of about 30 days that we did this. And I said, pick out 2 orders here, 2 orders here, 2 orders here. Make sure it's not the same attendant. Make sure it's not the same day of the week. And so I think we actually calculated more than 12, but we ended up using 12 in our formula.
So you can do that too. Yep. So even if you don't do the laundry yourself, you can even have your attendants just fill out all the information for those 12 or 15 or however many orders you want to base your averages on. So have them write down all the supplies that they used, which machines they used, because that will help you get that machine cost. Just have them write down everything they did for that order. And then you can use that to find your average for those amounts.
Yeah, as an example, so Carla, real quick, I just want to get I don't want to take anything for granted. A little bit deeper here. When you're doing these orders, if it's a 40-pound order and you're using a half a scoop of Tide powder detergent, you should know you need to know how many ounces are in that. So you might need to measure that. I think the 4 is 4 ounces typically on a standard scoop that comes with them. Then you need to look at, where do I buy my Tide and what does it cost per ounce? You need to break that cost down, and then you need to say, okay, did this order get Downy fabric softener? And if it did, what is my cost per ounce of Downy? How many ounces of Downy did I put in that particular order? And by the way, as you go up and you actually make more money on the bigger orders, I'm sure that won't surprise people, because you don't need to triple and quadruple the detergent, for example, if you go from 20 to 60 pounds or something like that. So that's just a little bit deeper there. I mean, you're going to calculate everything you put in there. If you put bleach in there, if you put a Shout color catcher in there, if you use a Bounce dryer sheet in the dryer, you need to account for how much do I pay for a box of Bounce sheets? How much does each sheet individually cost? And did I put 1 or 2 or 3 sheets in that order? So that's the idea behind it. And that's how we came to these numbers. And you can do the same thing. It does require a little bit of patience, does require a little bit of attention, but it's worth doing. And just so you know, we do this about every 2 to 3 years, because costs do change, costs do go up and down. Well, not really down. Costs basically go up. And we want to keep an eye on this. And this is how we determine what prices we charge. And we're okay if, we start out 2 years ago at a 30% margin and we end up at 27% now. We just don't want to stay there forever. You don't have to raise your prices every time the cost of something goes up. So what we do is every couple years across all 4 stores, we do this just to give a rough idea. And just so you know, at our pickup and delivery workshops, which we have one coming up in, what is it?
June 13th and 14th,
2023. This is an example of the type of things that we teach and break down. And it's much easier to do in person with a slide deck and with real orders in a real store. And you can ask questions and things like that.
You can see the processors actually doing all these things.
Yeah. So you're getting, virtually, if you will, you're getting a real world example of what one segment of our workshop is like, and how we teach you how we do these things to make sure that you're charging what you're charging. We give you formulas so you can say, you can completely reverse engineer this and say, my cost of labor is X, plug it into the formula, and it'll tell me that I have to charge Y. These are the type of things we do in the workshop. That's what's a little bit more challenging here, but trust us, we're going to try to get through this for you. We know everybody can't come to the workshop, but we do have a few openings left for June 13th and 14th. So if that's something you'd like to do.
Depending on when you're listening to this.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to get into the actual numbers here. So this is where it's going to get really mathy, so bear with me. Like Dave mentioned.
That's why Carla started taking over.
Like Dave mentioned, you might want to skip over to the YouTube channel where I will put up some slides that kind of show the numbers I'm talking about. So the first thing that we factored in was the labor cost, because that is the biggest cost that goes into that drop-off laundry. So this is going to be different depending on where you are. But for us, our attendants make about $13 an hour. I know that's probably low if you're out in California or New York. So we figured it at $13 an hour, but that is their wage. But remember, don't forget to factor in those fees, because we do not pay $13 an hour. We have to pay workers' comp and taxes and all that kind of stuff. So based on that, we factored another about 17% that we pay in extra charges here in Ohio. So that puts that $13. That adds another $2.21. So that puts it at $15.21 per hour for that attendant. Now, another thing that you need to know when going into the labor rate is you need to figure out how many pounds per hour can your attendants do. For us, because our attendants that are processing that drop-off are also in charge of the store and the customer service and the cleaning, like Dave mentioned, we put that at about 20 pounds per hour. But, I mean, we also have a lot of things built in to help them be as efficient as possible when they're processing that laundry. But 20 pounds an hour is pretty slow.
It's pretty conservative, to be honest with you. And for some of you saying that's a terrible number, keep in mind, this is not pickup and delivery orders. We do those overnight when the stores close to the public. They are doing the orders around managing the counter and making change and telling little kids not to run and stop playing with the laundry carts and cleaning up the store and making sure the toilet paper is restocked and all the things that come with being a store attendant. They're doing those around all of those tasks. And honestly, this is their last priority. So this is their least priority, and so we want that all to be calculated in. And so what we've learned is within the confines of our training, our systems, the way our store is set up, 20 pounds an hour is pretty conservative for a store attendant to be able to process drop-off laundry orders. And we think that's pretty much across the board, probably in the industry. It's probably a pretty good rough number to use. So if you don't want to figure it out yourself, you don't have to. You could use that number and it's probably pretty close. But the more real numbers you use from your real operation, the more accurate your numbers are going to be.
Yes.
But we try to go conservative on everything, and that way we know we're kind of overshooting our mark. And if we estimate our expenses are at 75%, they're actually probably closer to 70, but we're just giving everything the benefit of the doubt.
So I know that was already a lot of numbers for you, but the point of this is you want to figure out what is your wage and then what are you actually paying.
Yep.
So like I said, we have $13 an hour, but with what we actually pay with all the taxes, we're at $15.21. So $15.21 per hour in labor, and then we're going to divide that by 20, or 20 pounds per hour, and that gets us at 76 cents is what a pound of laundry costs us for that attendant to do. Okay, that was our real number. Yours is going to be different depending on your wages and all that kind of stuff. So that was the first part, is figure out, okay, what is that attendant actually doing the laundry cost us? 76 cents. But we also, per pound, for 1 pound. But we also do offer bonuses. So for us, they also get all of our attendants, for every pound of laundry they do, they get 10 cents a pound. So that's pretty clear. It just adds another 10 cents onto the cost there. So that puts us at 86 cents per pound so far in our costs, just for labor. So that's going to be your first step, is figure out what your labor cost is. So using your wages with the taxes, divided by however many pounds you think they should be able to do per hour. For us, it was 20, if you want to use that. and then add on any bonuses to that amount. So our rate was 76, another 10 cents bonus. We're at 86 cents cost for that pound of laundry in drop-off laundry. So that's the first step. Next one. So we've got 86 cents so far into our cost. Next thing we looked at was managerial bonuses. For us, because we have store managers, we have assistant GMs, we have a general manager, they all get bonuses too, based on how many pounds of laundry are processed in their store, or for our GMs in the entire company. So based on that added some more for us. And this is going to vary for you. But for us, the store manager gets another 20 cents per pound. And the leadership team, which we have 3 in our leadership, 2 GMs and a GM, each get 5 cents a pound. So that adds quite a bit. So we're adding another 20 cents for the store manager, and then 15 cents. That adds another 35 cents onto our cost. That might be a cost you don't have if you don't give bonuses or you don't have a managerial team.
And I just want to point something out, Carla. While we're here at this, some people may think that's insane. Just pulling out of the drop-off conversation for a minute, when it comes to the bigger picture of building a team and building incentives and bonus structures, obviously we don't really want to give equity to any of our employees, But what we do want to do is we've tried to set up our compensation structure so they obviously get either hourly pay or salaries, depending on the position, and they're pretty generous, and they get benefits and insurance and things like that too. Our GM gets a company car and things like that. But what we're really trying to do is, within the confines of a cost of drop-off laundry, what are their costs? Okay. So that's the bonus structure. And the reason we do it that way, I always joke with our team members or our management and leadership team, and I always say, I hope someday you make $1 million in your bonus. Because if you do, we probably made $10 million or $100 million. So we see that bonus structure is the store manager gets 20 cents a pound for every pound of laundry that goes through their store. They don't get 20 cents a pound for other stores, just their store. But they're also responsible for that pound of laundry in every way, shape, and form. Customer issues, complaints, lost items, you name it, they have ownership of that pound of laundry in their bonus. And then obviously at times things get escalated to our assistant GM and our GM, our leadership team. And so they get a bonus based on that. And we just see that as kind of a form of profit sharing in a way.
It really incentivizes them to they want our company to grow and be profitable and be prosperous. And so there's a lot of buy-in, a lot of ownership of their roles.
So I just wanted to point that out in case you just wonder, we're just throwing out money like and left. And you are exactly right. There are situations where all 3 of our leadership team might never actually touch or even see a pound of laundry that goes through another store, but they're each getting 5 cents a pound for that. But they're ultimately responsible for it, right? In every way, shape, and form. And so they get buy-in, and we see that as kind of a profit-sharing thing. So I just wanted to point that out. This isn't about team building or anything like that, but I wanted you to understand why we do what we do. And it's part of how we've been able to build the team and the organization we've built, is we try to incentivize them and create a good company culture and all those things.
Okay, so going back to the numbers. So if I go back to where we were, remember total labor cost was 86 cents a pound. That was for their wages and the 10 cents bonus for the one who processed it. But then we added on all of our leadership team bonuses, and that gave another 35 cents per pound. So if you add that together, we're at $1.21 a pound so far. That's our cost just for labor and bonuses. That's for us. Nothing else. So now going into some of those other elements that people sometimes forget to count into their costs. The next one we're going to talk about is credit card fees. Now for us, we base our price as if everything came through as a credit card payment, but obviously some of it's cash too. For us, about 70% is credit card, about 30% comes in as cash payments. But like Dave mentioned earlier, we would rather overestimate our costs rather than underestimate. So for us, our credit card fees run at about 4%. Based on that, it's about 8 cents a pound is where that's set at. So there's another 8 cents added onto our costs. So we were at $1.21 for labor and bonuses, another 8 cents. We're at $1.29 for our costs now. Next thing we looked at was utilities. Now, This one was a little trickier. Dave, explain what you did with utilities, because this is confusing.
Yes, so it is a little bit confusing, and this is an example where I may lose you, but if you listen to it a few times, I think it'll make sense. So the first thing we had to determine is I used an 80-pound washer for an example, okay? So just to give you an idea, our utility costs for a drop-off laundry order is right at 1% of the cost of that order. And people may go, wow, holy cow, no way, that's not even possible. Hang with me for a minute, because you have to remember, we're charging $209 a pound for this laundry. This is not self-serve where it would be 10, 15, 18% of a cost as a cost or a percentage of revenue. So what I did to determine that is I said, okay, in our store, our numbers they actually run a little bit better than this, but I used a number of 15%. So I said, we charge $12 for a self-serve washer, and that's an 80-pound washer. And we charge $12 for it, and our utilities as a percentage of sales for self-serve revenue is 15%. It was a nice round number. It's actually 12, but we used 15 once again to be conservative. So what that means is the cost of utilities to run the washer and the dryer for that pound of laundry is $1.80 per turn. If we know the cost of the estimated utilities to run an 80-pound washer is $1.80 per turn, then we know that based on 80 pounds of laundry, that's going to be 2 cents, right? So we're going to add in that 2 cents into the formula. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but maybe back up and listen to that again. It is an estimate, but it's actually a pretty close estimate. I mean, I put a little bit of time into that to try to determine that. So ultimately, 2 cents per pound is the cost of added utilities by running that 80-pound machine.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Have we lost him, you think?
So he did 15% of the price he charges for that 80-pound machine. So 15% of the $12 got you to $1.80. And then that $1.80 was used on 80 pounds. So $1.80 divided by 80 pounds, and it's basically 2 cents per pound.
That's right.
So that was a recap.
So everything we're trying to do, as a great recap, by the way, everything we're trying to do is break down into per pound cost. Because at the end, all we want to do is add all these together and say our cost to process a pound of laundry for everything we just talked about is X. And we know everything else is profit if we subtract it from our price.
Okay.
All right.
So that added,
so
utilities was another 2 cents on cost. So if I recap, so if you remember, labor was 86 cents per pound, and then we added on bonuses. That got us to $1.21 per pound, 8 cents for credit card fees. So that got us to $1.29. Now we're adding another 2 cents, so we're up to $1.31 per pound for our costs. Yours could be a little different. Yep. Next thing we wanted to look at was machine maintenance and repairs. Now, this was the one that we estimated.
Yep, 100% guesstimate. I think I guesstimated pretty high, and I think you guys, if you know your numbers, you would probably agree with this, but go ahead.
Ours, we ended up estimating at about 13 cents a pound. It ended up being around 6% of the total cost that we actually charge. But anyway, so that was our estimate, about 13 cents a pound. So that's getting added on to the cost. So we were at $1.31, add another 13 cents. Now we're at $1.44 for our costs. Next, we looked at packaging and supplies. Now, this was based on what we initially talked about, where we looked at those 12 orders, 12 very different orders. Some of them closer to 20 pounds, some of them more closer to 80 pounds. Some of them required a lot of things hung. Some of them required the 40-pound Rhino bags. Some of them wanted this detergent. Some of them wanted this dryer sheet, whatever. So based on
as I mentioned earlier, some of them might be a 40-gallon bag with one 6-cent sticker, and one might be a 20-gallon bag, which is a much smaller bag with one 6-cent sticker. So the percentages skew as you go with it.
So based on those 12 orders that we looked at, and however many you look at, the packaging and supplies, the detergent, all the things to package them, came out to 8 cents per pound. Yep. So that was just an average over those orders. So we were at $1.44 a pound. That 8 cents takes us now up to $1.52 a pound. So that is our total cost. What we found based on those 12 orders, we found that our cost is $1.52 a pound. So we know, after all of that analysis, that we have to charge more than $1.52 a pound or we're not making a profit. And again, remember, that's an average. So you don't even want to be really close to $1.52. You want to make sure that you build in a nice profit margin. And that's your next step, is figuring out the price based on what profit margin you want to have for your drop-off laundry? What profit margin makes it worth it? Worth the training, worth purchasing all those supplies.
Don't cut yourself out. Don't cut yourself out. Because while we may think, oh, the owner's sitting back home and having, Susie attendant do the order or whatever, just keep in mind that this is your business. You're responsible for every aspect of it. Obviously there's going to be times where, we mess up an order of laundry and we lose a customer and, things like that. I mean, there's always one-offs that are going to kind of trim into your budget that you can't account for every single individual thing. And so you need to have some healthy profit built in there to give yourself a little bit of a leeway to know, even if I have to pay overtime, for example, I know we're still at least not losing money. If we're doing orders based on overtime, hopefully it's not very long. But just as an example, don't cut yourself out. Don't just say, 10%'s good. I'm going to go from 150 to, 180 or whatever. Don't do that to yourself, because remember, our costs are always going up and you have to stay on top of those too. Part of the reason that we wanted to do this episode is because we really passionately believe, through all of my conversations and coaching, that a lot of people in the industry, even self-serve and even pick up and delivery, but specifically on drop-off, don't know their expenses. They're not sure how to calculate them, or maybe they know how and just haven't taken the time. And they're actually working for free or working for peanuts. And I'm a big advocate for raise your prices, raise your prices, raise your prices, and then raise your prices some more. And the reason is, I think we as laundromat owners, we provide a lot of value to the industry. And I think we undersell the value that we bring to our communities. So that's part of the reason that we wanted to do that. Once again, not to beat a dead horse, but we go into a lot more detail on these things in our pickup and delivery workshop. And if you're watching this down the road, check our website to see what our next workshop is. But if you're watching this when we release the episode, we actually have our last pickup and delivery workshop of 2023 happening in 5 weeks, June 13th and 14th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday here in Cincinnati. So we go into this for 2 days. We do this kind of stuff, which is a little bit exhausting. But hopefully
we don't just do this. I promise. No. It's a lot of fun too.
It's a ton of fun.
All right. So going back to it, I told you the next thing is to figure out what price you need to charge based on what percentage of profit you want to make. So I'm going to give you the math formula to do that, and then I'm going to explain it using our numbers. So what you want to do, how to back into the price you need to charge, is you take your total cost. So remember, ours was $1.52 was our total cost. Take your cost and divide it by 1 minus your percentage of profit. Okay, so for us, we decided we want about a 30% profit. So if you take our cost of $1.52 and you divide it by 70%, because remember I said 1 minus that 30%. So take our cost, $1.52, divided by 70%, because we want that cost to represent 70% of the price. That tells us we should be charging about $2.17. You would do that same process with your numbers.
Yep.
So take your total cost divided by 1 minus the percentage of profit you want. So 1 minus 30% for us was 70%. So cost divided by that percent, and that will tell you what your price needs to be to get that percentage of profit. Now, I will say we don't actually charge $2.17. We actually charge $2.09. But our profit margin, that puts us at 27%, but it's not the profit margin we actually make.
Carla,
why, Dave?
Well, this is the part where I want to sound like an infomercial. I want to say, but wait, there's more. No, seriously. We just want to have a little bit of fun with this. The truth is, and I hope I don't lose anybody, because all that math is that math and it's real, and you could stop right there. But I always go a step further in just my brain and how I'm running my businesses and how I'm trying to quantify things. So I just wanted to share this with you. Hopefully it doesn't confuse you a little bit. Once again, because we decided to be fully attended, no matter what, we have built in our employees, our attendance labor, into our self-serve business model. That means if tomorrow we stop doing drop-off laundry altogether, our labor wouldn't actually change other than the bonus structures, because we still would be fully attended. That's something we believe in. If that's not you, calculate accordingly. But for us, that's the case. So the beauty is, while we're actually on paper making a 27% profit, that labor she was referring to, which was the 76 cents a pound, we can actually back that out, because the other silo of our business, our self-serve revenue is covering that labor.
Or maybe you want to split it between the two.
Or you can split it.
You can split it too.
Yeah,
whichever.
I mean, you can do whatever you want to do with it. Obviously, you need to make sure it's accounted for and paid for. But within the confines of just a isolated pound of laundry, we are actually processing most weeks 100% of our drop-off orders with what I call free labor. Okay. And what I mean by that is the labor's already paid for by the self-serve business. So if that's the case, we can take that 76 cents out. It's not an actual expense. And so what that means is our profit is $1.33 a pound for every pound of laundry, which is actually 64% margins, not 27%. Now, the reason that we still did the whole exercise is because one of the things we wanted to make sure we did is charge correct pricing for as if we would outgrow our free labor. So right now, our free labor with our fully attendance 7 days a week, get 20 pounds an hour, all these things, we can do roughly 1,000 pounds of laundry per store, still keep up with customer service and the cleaning of the stores, provide a high level for self-serve customers, and still have what I call free labor. But if our volume ever outgrew that, and it has a couple times, what we do is we just raise our prices to drive down demand, and it drives up our profit margins, keeps us within that free labor category, that 1,000 pounds per week roughly. Now, you don't have to do this. That's what I've chosen to do.
Well, and we would still make the 27%, even if our attendant got to where they couldn't do all the drop-off and we had to bring in another employee to do it.
Key right there.
That's already factored in, and we're making the 27% profit margin.
And the reason that I factored it in that way, and I know we're not going to talk about pickup and delivery, but if you know anything about our pickup and delivery story, you know that we were growing really fast. We're bringing in one attendant and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and just having them process laundry. Well, we evolved from free labor to not free labor, but I never took that 76 cents into account. And so that's how we started losing a whole bunch of money really quickly. And so when I started reverse engineering this for drop off, I said, I want to calculate all of our prices as if it's not free labor. And then I want to try to manipulate the laws of supply and demand so that the majority, if not all of our revenue from drop-off is actually generated with free labor. So right now, as we sit here today recording this podcast, we typically don't go over 1,000 pounds a week of drop-off laundry per store. We do pick up and delivery, but not drop-off laundry. So within this context, 100% of our drop-off laundry orders that we do on a weekly basis across all 4 of our stores are actually at 64% margins.
So I do want to make sure that I give people the full pie chart effect here, because I know some of you are like, okay, so what percent goes to what? How are your costs broken down? So like I told you, we charge $2.09 a pound. So with that, 58% of that cost, or 58% of that money coming in goes towards labor. And we're not talking about the free labor, assuming there was no free labor, as he said it, because that's really just moving the money from self-serve to drop-off. So assuming all of that labor was just drop-off labor, self-serve was not taking any of it, 58% of the money coming in for drop-off goes towards that labor cost. 4% goes to credit card fees, 1% goes to utilities, 6% to maintenance of the machines and repairs, 4% towards packaging and supplies, leaving that 27% profit for us.
And if we ever got to the point where we said 27 isn't enough, we've crept up, maybe our expenses keep creeping up and our labor, we have to give people raises. And we look up one day and we say, oh, we're at 24%. We're okay with not being quite at 30 all the time, but we're not okay with getting close to 20. So what do we need to do? We need to raise our prices. Or there's multiple ways you can do this. But generally speaking, you can also increase efficiencies. You could ask more of your attendants, ask them to get to 25 pounds an hour instead of 20. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. But at the end of the day, if you want to stay on top of your margins and your profits to make sure that your business is profitable. One of the biggest mistakes I see in the industry in a full-service laundry is you have your self-serve, you have your drop-off, you have your pickup and delivery, you have your vending and gaming or whatever, and you just collect it all, throw it in the bank, pay all the bills, and that's that. And at the end of the day, you're thinking to yourself, what do you charge for drop-off? I don't know. We charge $1.50 a pound. Okay, well, do you make any profit on that? Yeah, I think we do okay. And honestly, once again, I'm gonna be very transparent here. Full disclosure, we did that for years. And while we were profitable and we did have a healthy business, we didn't actually know what was what. And we were doing things that we would have actually, like pickup and delivery at one point, we would have made more profit and more money if we just shut it down and didn't do pickup and delivery. And it's why we're so passionate about trying to put together an episode that can give everyone in the industry a ton of value. Share this with everyone you know, but it's also why we're passionate about coaching. It's also passionate by why I travel all over the country trying to speak at different conferences and things like that. And of course, it's also why we have the workshops here in Cincinnati.
Anyway, so that pretty much sums it up. If you need to, go back and listen again, or like I said, go over to the YouTube channel, and there are some slides that help lead you through the numbers and the formulas. But at the end of the day, we're all in business, not only to serve our community, but also to serve our family and make a profit. So we want to make sure that you're charging what you need to in your community, where you are leaving some of the pie left for you.
Please, 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 please do not just guess. Do not assume I'm doing okay. I think we're doing this. We're probably around this. I hear that all the time. We want better for you. We want better for your family. And by the way, when you're running a very lucrative, profitable business, you know what you do? You reinvest in your business. You reinvest in your people. You're generous with raises and bonuses. Maybe at some point, you'll have the revenue to build a leadership team like we have across your stores. You can replace equipment before competitors can replace equipment. But for all of you out there charging, in labor markets where your labor is even higher than us and your costs are higher than us and you're charging less than us for a pound of laundry, I mean, do the math real quick, guys. You're probably not making the money you think you are. And at the end of the day, it's your business. We're not here to tell you how to run your business. We're here to hopefully encourage and guide you and help you to kind of drill down on some of these numbers. So we know this was a little bit nerdy. That's why Carla did more of the talking than me, more math involved here. But hopefully this helps you a little bit. And you know what? If some of these things are a little bit confusing, once again, watch them again. And of course, we would love to see you at our workshop someday. So if that's in the cards, by all means, go to our website, check out the different services and products we offer. We make those and create those to help you, okay? So anyway, listen, for Carla and Dave Menz here in Cincinnati, Ohio, we are going to be out for this episode, but we will see you next time for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Take care, everyone.
Bye.